anytime during the podcast I have like white crust on my lips from these nicotine lozenges.
Okay. I have to let you know that. I'm like
Yeah.
legally blind.
You have to. You can't see it. Do I have it now? Do I have it now?
No, I don't think so.
These are where are they? Do you want one? You want to nick?
Fuck. I have willpower, Josh.
Which is so funny because I quit vaping on tour and I quit cold turkey. Not even like, I mean, just powering through completely willpower, strength, knowing. Because that's the thing about nicotine, right? Like with cocaine, you do it, you feel great, you get confidence. With opiates, you do it, it kills the pain. Alcohol, you get loosey-goosey, you have fun. What does nicotine do? Like, what does it do?
It makes you feel cool.
It really does. You liking this?
Camera?
You liking the...
All right,
okay, computer Nicholas.
It's Quilt.
I am gay robot.
When are we starting this podcast?
It started right now.
It did?
We're in
I like
it.
how people never tell you that. They just go, yeah, so anyway, my mom got murdered yesterday. I knew. Oh, are we just shooting the shit or are we starting? What the fuck does nicotine have to do with Radiohead? It's fucking
I don't
crazy.
know. I never know how to start anything.
We'll tell the guests, like, okay, let's start
All right.
in like 5 seconds. Okay, cool.
Jorge, did you get that?
Can we
Please
cut
tell me
all
you
of
did.
this out?
No, leave that. Leave that. That was good. That was, dude, you're so funny. Dude, that was funny.
Thanks, Josh.
I can't believe I can't believe you're here. I can't
know.
believe it. You understand that. You understand. And
On Earth or where? Just
Both.
in general?
Both, but mostly
I'm rarely in New York City, so it was kind of serendipitous that we connected, and then you have a podcast about Radiohead.
Well,
and then I had free time, which
truth be told, we should tell the listeners. You were supposed to, not supposed to, but we were like a pubic hair away from having you on for Coldplay, A Rush of Blood to the Head early on. You were the first guy.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. So I'm a big Coldplay fan. I actually made T-shirts that said, I like Coldplay, fuck you. And then I have the same doctor as Chris Martin, and he showed Chris the shirt, and the doctor told me that. He showed it to him, and Chris was like, that's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you met the Coldplay?
I met him briefly at some MTV Music Awards. Super nice guy.
Seems like he would be.
Yeah.
It was one of the most fun concerts I've ever been to in my life.
It's a phenomenal concert, and it's funny. I mean, we're totally digressing from Radiohead, but
We'll get to it.
yeah, I always tell people it's such a great show, and they have so many big songs. I don't know. I mean, I've been a fan a long time, so
Anthemic. I would call Coldplay's music anthemic. It's like everything is made to be like sing along.
Yeah, it's like big, and it's like I've seen them a lot, and it's great.
How many times have you seen Coldplay live? With like,
I mean, a lot meaning like probably 6, 7.
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a decent amount.
Is that the most that you've seen any band? Who have you seen the most?
I mean, Radiohead's up there.
Really?
Look at that segue.
Ooh.
Not my first patio.
Are you the kind of guy that looks at the screen the whole time too?
Well, when
'Cause
it's right in front of me, yeah.
I can't not look
when
at
it's
the screen.
literally right in front of me.
Dude, Jorge, why did they do that? Why did they put the screen? No, but you can leave it on because you're going to pull up clips in, obviously. But it's like,
You can leave it on, but I mean, it's hard not to go like, oh, that's what I look like.
You look great, dude.
Sweet. Yeah. So I've seen Radiohead a lot, and I've seen Oasis weirdly a lot.
Are you going for the rebirth?
No, because they're not doing U.S. dates.
Yes,
are
they
they?
are.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
they're
are.
They're doing L.A. They're doing the
When
Rose
did they
Bowl.
announce that? Because they
A
came
while
out
ago.
of the gate with
England. I'm going with.
UK.
I'm going not to name drop, but I'm going with
Abraham Lincoln. What a broken record this is with Josh.
John Quincy Adams.
Who are you going with?
I'm going with Jimmy Carr, Jim Jeffries, Steve Byrne, and Adam Egget. We're going.
It's the worst name drop I've ever heard
pretty
in my
good one.
life. It's fucking horrible.
It's a pretty good one.
All those guys are. I'm just kidding. They're all friends of mine.
We're going to see them twice at Wembley, and then I'm probably going to end up going to see them in Jersey when they're here, and I'm going to go see them in LA as well, at least one of the shows.
All those guys are flying to Wembley?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
We were on because of the and truth be told, because of this podcast, because I had when I had Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory come up. Steve wanted to do it because he's a huge Oasis fan.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Steve is a big Oasis
and
fan.
Jim, same too. So I had them both on, and so when the whole like teasing of the concert kind of happening of them getting back together was in the works,
Right.
like we started texting and we said if they're gonna do shows, we're gonna go, and then they dropped it, and then I ended up getting tickets.
And they only announced England first. So then people were like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, but we knew. I mean, dude, this is like it's a cash grab, 100%. Like I think Noel really needs the money because of like a divorce, so he kind of.
The craziest thing is their New York show is at the Comedy Cellar.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
how big the Cellar is getting. They're doing 400 nights in a row. Bold move.
400 nights.
God.
They just
at the Cellar. Out of control.
Where was the first time you saw Radiohead?
So Radiohead was the first concert I ever saw. There's two quick stories to this.
Take me.
So it was about, God, I'm going to say 94, and my friend Brendan McInerney was really savvy with music, and he was big into the UK early 90s rock scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember he was like, hey, man, I got tickets to this band at Prince's Club, First Avenue. Famous, legendary, iconic club.
By the way, did you notice the shirt I'm wearing?
Yes, I did. Husker Du, great Minneapolis band.
I was going to wear a Prince shirt, but I wore it because I did Prince 1999 a couple days ago, and so I wore... When I went to Paisley Park, I bought like this, like, you know how like black people put like a dead person on a shirt and it's like in loving memory and it's always like clouds and stuff. So I found one of those when I was in Minnesota doing the House of Comedy before I went to Paisley Park. And I have that, and I wore that, and I was going to try to wear it, but it was all wrinkled. So I was like,
fine.
I was like, I know, but I wanted to wear a nice Minnesota. I don't have any other Minnesota
That's
things.
great. Husker Du's that's a great shirt.
I was hoping you would be like, yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Zen Arcade, great album.
Yes, and that's funny because First Avenue is, whereas like Minnesota has First Avenue, DC has the 930 Club, LA has the Whiskey. I would say that's their version of it, and then
Troubadour Whiskey, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and then New York has the Bowery.
Yeah,
but
New York had CBGB. I mean,
yeah, but that's still around.
Right.
I would say the Bowery is probably the First Avenue of Minnesota.
New York's got a lot of them, but I mean, First Avenue is iconic. And then, side note, there's only two comedians on the wall of First Avenue: Dave Chappelle.
You?
This guy, yeah.
You wrote...
Well, yeah. So I got my star on the wall, which was one of the highlights of my life. So anyway, my buddy Brendan goes, hey, I got concert tickets tonight at First Ave. And I go, oh, I got to get up tomorrow. You know what I mean? I got like homework or whatever I was doing. And he was like, oh, are you sure it's going to be a great show? And I go, what is it? And he goes, it's that band Radiohead. And I was like, oh, I just saw their music video, Fake Plastic Trees, because the Bends had just come out. Mm-hmm. And I love the song and the video. So I was like, and I was 50-50 on going. And I was like, he goes, I'll drive. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So we go to the show, and I hadn't even really heard the Bends yet. And it was fucking insane.
Oh, I bet.
It's not a big venue. So to see them intimately... And they had that energy of like crushing the Bends, So Thom Yorke was all over the stage. It was insane. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
To this day, it's still one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I still have the concert stub, ticket
awesome.
stub. And then in May, I'm recording my next special at First Ave. And this tour is called Toilet Head. So I'm doing First Avenue. My first show was Radiohead. I'm doing my special, Toilet Head.
Yes, dude.
It's the weirdest, bonkers, most full circle. But yeah, and then then I got the Bends album, and I think that was my first CD was the Bends, and that album's phenomenal. And then obviously OK Computer came along, which is what you were bringing me in for.
Which is the record that I've talked about probably the most on this podcast. I feel like all my listeners of the Fleece Army have all been waiting for this moment, because I would say there's Stone Temple Pilots Core.
Stone Temple's insane.
Insane.
They're nuts lab. I saw them House of Blues in LA.
A completely underrated band, and because they were, they like the critics hated them, but the fans fucking loved them. But
what was the critics' argument?
that they just had no substance and they were kind of copying and they're all,
Did they just put everybody as derivative of Pearl Jam at that
kind
point?
of. I think it's a very, dude, Pearl Jam, that monosyllabic,
they're-
that kind of singing, and it's like then you have Scott,
Right.
who I feel is more of like a ripoff of like, he's more Bowie than he is like Neil Young. Just the way that he moves and the skinniness and like just like he's like a provocative.
He's
and,
got elements of a lot of people, Iggy Pop. I mean, like,
yes,
but
yeah,
he's
good one.
totally. Scott Weiland was his own.
He's singular.
I
Yeah,
mean, he was a rock star.
Yeah.
I mean, all those guys are rock stars, obviously, but like to give any criticism to Stone Temple, I mean, I saw them. It's starting to go away from Radiohead.
you're on.
I was in LA and I was going about my day in the afternoon and I'm listening to K-Rock and they go, "Oh my God, this just in. Scott Weiland out of rehab. Stone Temple Pilots is doing the House of Blues tonight in LA." And people know what House of Blues is. That's not a huge venue. So I was like, oh my God. So I stopped everything I was doing and just drove right to House of Blues and got in line. Waited for 2 hours.
Rad.
And got in and saw Stone Temple Pilots. And that, to this day, is one of the most bonkers shows I've ever
bet.
seen. And I remember the album number 4 came out, which is a great album. And Scott walks out, and everyone goes nuts, obviously. And then he plays more of their mellow, kind of subdued kind of songs. And he does like 6 or 7 in a row. And the crowd's like, all right, that was cool. And then he just goes, I'll never forget this. He goes, "Do you guys like rock and roll?" And the crowd's like, yes.
We're
Yes,
fans.
we do. Think we can all agree on that. He leaves the stage, comes back, shirtless, leather gloves,
Yeah.
black cowboy hat,
Sure.
and just shreds for another hour and a half.
Yeah.
Mosh pit. It was just chaos, but I was right there, dude.
Everything I do on stage is like stealing a little bit from like him and like Otis Redding
know.
but
We
it's-
know.
I love him. And
Yeah.
that's so Stone Temple by its core, Appetite for Destruction, and then
Amazing.
I would say this record here, this is the most life-changing. My life was one way. I heard this record, my life was different from that point on. Because obviously we all dug into Pablo Honey, or at least Creep. And then the Bends, which I got when I was still in high school, and I remember being like, "Oh, this is like you mentioned all the songs, Street Spirit and Fake Plastic Trees and this," and I love that, and I bought that record in Just. But this was the record that became. I mean, it made me drop out of college and travel the world. I was looking for answers, and I've never felt a record. There's a moment in that John Lennon documentary, Imagine, where this homeless guy's camping out. He like sneaks into his shire in London, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "Dude, you've been speaking to me." And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, "All of your music, it's like you were writing it for me." And he's like, "No, I was writing it. It's probably about me, or it's about the band, or it's about Yoko." But
Right.
and I think that this is that kind of record for not just, I mean, everybody I talk to when they talk about Radiohead, it's like, this is the album, and you could say Kid A, and you can, because that's where they became, I think, like we said this when we went out to eat the other night, I think Kid A is their best record, like technically and musically, but this is my favorite. And I think most people, because this one on the list, there's still the Benz is next, and then Kid A is even deeper, is in the bottom 100.
Right. Well, OK Computer was this. It was a perfect hybrid of like Pablo Honey is like a solid pop alt rock album.
Yeah.
It's fine. Great songs on it. The Benz was like a phenomenal, amazing pop rock album. And then Radiohead, I mean, OK Computer came along and it just threw another element, this kind of ethereal, like it was just like a sound you had never really heard.
Yeah.
And then they took it to another level with Kid A.
Yeah.
And got really trippy and but OK Computer was just like, even songs like Exit Music for a Film.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
Yeah.
it was like kind of what you're saying, where it was a journey. It was when they talk about an album being an entire entity of just you're along for a ride.
Yeah.
That's how OK Computer was, where I was like, what in the hell is going on? I mean, it's just the diversity of the songs too, from like Exit Music to a Film to like Electioneering.
Yeah.
And then, you have Let Down and then Karma Police. I mean, it's like It's awesome, and it takes you back to a time. I told you this, but I saw their final show of the OK Computer tour at Radio City Music Hall.
Fuck.
And I was with my friend Ross, and we were sitting there, and it was so annoying. So there was like 5 meatbags behind us. These 5 guys that are like, "Play Creed, let's go, Creed!" And we were like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna commit suicide." And then they were asked to leave, but
Good. Fuck those dudes.
it was just like belligerently.
How old were you when this came out? So where are you in your life? Before I get into the spiel, because I have a little spiel, but like
I would say 1998.
this came out. Hold on, let's find the exact date. This was released May 21st, 1997. It is OK Computer by Radiohead, produced by Nigel Godrich, and it clocks in at 53 minutes and 21 seconds.
Oh,
It's a longie.
oh,
It's a longie strongie.
yeah.
So what's going on in your life in May 1997?
Diarrhea.
I love your burps.
1997. I'd started stand up in 96. Graduated high school in 95.
That's awesome.
So I mean, I was probably about to move to New York. Yeah, 97.
That's so funny that you said that when we were at the Cellar the other night, because I always just since I'd been in stand up, you'd always been in Los Angeles, and I knew you're a Minnesota guy, but I didn't know that you came here.
Yeah, I cut my
That's
teeth
why-
there. It was the best advice I ever got in comedy.
Who told you?
Because I got the Aspen Comedy Festival as a new face right out of the gate after 6 months of doing stand up.
Are you kidding?
I did an open mic February 12th, 1996. That year, HBO picked me as one of the top new comics in the country, and I've been doing stand up for 6 months.
Were people pissed?
Yeah, people were very pissed at me. But I moved to New York, and then that changed my whole world. But that's a whole separate thing. And then I became obsessed with Radiohead after that, after seeing them live, during that Benz tour. And then I went and saw them as much as I could, but I saw every major tour. One of my favorite moments was Kid A. I remember for my birthday, my good friend Zach Galifianakis, he goes, "Your birthday present, I got you tickets to see Radiohead at the Greek." And I'm like, "No, wait, Greek is an outdoor venue. Again, a famous venue. It's fucking awesome."
Yeah.
And my birthday is in October, so the weather was kind of trippy. And it was outdoors and a fog rolled in. And this was the beginning of their Kid A tour, and it was epic. And then a side note is Zach and I were like 5th row center. We're like freaking out. And then all of a sudden these flashlights come, and it's like security. And we're like, and they're pointing them at the people next to us, these 2 chicks. And they're like, "Hey, can we see your tickets?" And the girls are like, So then they're like, "Yeah, this aren't your seats." So they leave, and then fucking Brad Pitt and
No.
Catherine Keener, the actress, walk in and sit next to us. And we're like, "Hey." And they're like, Brad's like, "What's up, man?" And this is, way back. This is like 2000, whatever
This
the
is
fuck
at
that would be.
at the sexiest. Well, this is right before. Fuck, this is right before Fight Club. So he's probably yoked and bleached blonde
Yeah, but he
tips.
was like, I've never seen, he just was so into Radiohead
I
and
love
so
that.
dialed in. And he lights up a joint. He's like, "Do you guys want to smoke a joint?" We're like, "Yeah, duh." So then we take a hit of this joint, and Brad was just like, bum, 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 bum. But he was like, for the whole show, like 2 hours of just like fucking
in it.
just possessed. It was
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, we were freaking out too. I mean, it was phenomenal.
They didn't tour the DC area for the Kid A tour. They did the Amnesiac one, but so I didn't get to see them until
Do you think it was because of you?
they knew I was there.
Yeah.
They
That adds up. That checks out.
I tried to get in touch with
They're like,
them.
"It's Josh there." Yeah, it's weird.
I'm sorry, we're not going to be going. But
Take a pass.
I finally got to see them with it wasn't with Beta Band. That was going to be the Amnesiac tour. I got to see them at Merriweather Post Pavilion, and then like I mentioned to you at the Cellar, I did Outside Lands. And
Right,
they were on
which
it.
they did a lot.
Which they did a lot, but that was the year that their last record had come out, and that was like I think I don't know if my agent had already planned on getting us Outside Lands, but we had done a bunch of festivals that summer, and it was like the year of like Tame Impala and LCD Sound System, and then we had done Bonnaroo and Bumbershoot and a couple others, and I was like, when I saw the Radiohead dropping at Outside, I was like, please get us that, and so
Right.
it was Such a great festival, and what a great place to see him. Because out of all the festival crowds, I feel like Outside Lands, they're San Francisco. They're a little bit. They're not hippie-esque as the
They're
Bonnaroo
pretty
people.
savvy. And
Yes.
they're cocky about it.
Yes, they are very cocky.
With comedy and music.
Yeah, they are.
They're very like, you know where you are, right? San Franciscans.
We have the best burritos, even though we're nowhere near the border.
Yeah,
but we do have the best.
Everything.
So
it's a great time.
So I have a little spiel that'll catch us up to this record. Because I was on the phone when you showed up. So feel free to interject at any moment if I say something that.
Oh, I will.
Yeah,
I'll disrupt a spiel.
Please disrupt.
People know that about me.
Spiel. So I have a writer, Morty. So Morty and I have been talking now that we are on essentially a list of bangers until we reach the top. So we're in the thick of the 500 list. There seems to be a universal thing with the greatest artists of our time where they hit a creative peak with everything they did up until that point, and then they become singular unto themselves. And then they put out the next record, and it's almost a forego conclusion that will be more popular than the record before it. But as often happens years later, it feels like maybe the record before that was better. That's not to say anything about this record or records like it are inferior. So when the Bends came out, it was everything Radiohead promised and cemented what they did well. When OK Computer came out, it flew to the top of the critical and commercial charts. Even now, people talk about this record. It feels like they're talking about an idea more than a collection of songs. We almost didn't know it, but it would sort of be the last Radiohead record that they employed mostly conventional song structures. The other thing about this record is while they might have gotten lumped in with Brit pop like Oasis and Blur and a bunch of the other bands, they never felt retro about it. So you could draw a straight line from the Beatles to Oasis and to the Kinks to Blur. It was like Radiohead gave you the psychedelic expansiveness of Pink Floyd without feeling like there was any imitation. And the remarkable thing is the band and the producer, Nigel Godrich, really, for the most part, used conventional studio effects and practical applications of mic placement to achieve what ended up sounding like a modern masterpiece. The ability to use all the technological advances existed, and yet there's something about this record that never loses its humanity, even when it's singing about aliens, alienation, or robots, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
That's interesting. Because they didn't fall into that Britpop that I don't equate them with that. At all.
At all.
They were kind of their own.
They lumped in at the beginning because that's what I'm saying is like.
Yeah, I get that.
Because whereas Oasis and Blur had like a rivalry because you got to know, they made their personalities so a part of their music where it's like with Radiohead, you don't know anything about them. They were
really ambiguous and they were out of the public eye. But then you also had like The Verve and Stone Roses. I mean, there was a whole group, but I agree. I never lumped Radiohead into that.
But Radiohead's not a part of all that. I would say, like, you can, because look.
Say it, man.
Fucking Richard Ashcroft is opening for Oasis in England.
I love that.
Which is great. Blur, it wasn't until.
Just the Gorillaz.
The Gorillaz but in Oasis, you could see the line between Oasis and the Beatles. You can see the line between Blur and the Kinks. But with Radiohead, this record, they completely went away from. You could say, okay, they're like Pink Floyd, but they're
not like.
They're not
Pink
retro.
Floyd.
Where the but you know what I mean. Whereas
I know what you mean. Where they, certain sounds and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I always wondered because Noel and Liam were always so vocal about everything.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever heard what Noel's take was on OK Computer. I'm sure he had to have some public take on it.
Let me see if I can find something.
Search the intro.
I've got it. Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher. OK Computer. I think there's and Jorge, could you look up? I think there's a guest list for a Radiohead show at the Bowery, and the VIP list is like fucking everybody. Like the Beastie Boys are there, and Brad Pitt is there. It's finally realized why Noel Gallagher hates Thom Yorke. What's worse, when Noel faced his nemesis and actually sat down to listen to OK Computer? So it says Noel told the world he was a genius, and people never really heard the Beatles, T-Rex, or the Who believed him. Oh, so I don't know. This is a long thing. I'm not reading it.
Don't read it.
But I think
I have the list right here.
Oh, you have the guest list? Yeah, so this is the guest list to Radiohead. I mean, look who's there, dude. The Beastie Boys,
What?
Blur's there.
Wait, what venue is this?
What does it say? Is it the Bowery?
Yeah.
It's at the Bowery Ballroom. Marilyn Manson, Dave Matthews,
Guy
Courtney
O'Siri.
Love,
I know Guy's friend of mine.
Madonna, who else? Oasis is there, Brad Pitt, R.E.M., Rick
God.
Rubin, Russell Simmons, Jill Sobule, U2,
That's the whole venue.
Eddie Vedder.
I don't even understand that. I like the people added on.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That would be me. I'd be
Todd
I'd
Berry.
be
Hey man, can I get in this or what?
Hey, can I get into this show?
Good
so
Lord.
I think
Who
we're
opened the show? Godfrey.
So I think, to be honest, if we look back, the Bends could be like the Beatles' Rubber Soul, and this is their Revolver. And I feel like you're getting a band defining themselves. And
Would Kid A be their Yellow Submarine? Or I don't know.
well, I think Kid A would be. Fuck. I mean,
I don't know. I
That's
don't
a
like
good
this
question. So hold on,
comparison
I'm going
at
to text
all.
Morty and
I
see what
hate
Morty says about it. What would be? Hold on, let me
Wait, random side note while you go on the intro net.
go ahead.
I remember that. So there's a bar in Hollywood called Barney's Beanery. It's an old, famous dive sports bar that I frequented a lot over the decades. And I remember one time I was at Barney's, and it's really, really legendary. And I was there in the afternoon, day drinking, and this was who was at the bar. And
Yeah.
it's a pretty decent sized bar. The only people at the bar, and this is, I swear to God, it was me and my friend Chris Reed, who was Kid from Kid and Play.
Yeah.
We're at the bar, and then a table behind us is Noel Gallagher and somebody else having a meeting. Then down from that, across the bar, is Bono from U2.
Holy shit.
He's having a meeting, and Justin Bieber is playing pool. And there was no paparazzi, nobody there. And I was like, what in the fuck? I'm like, this is so surreal. And I don't think there were any other people there.
Yeah. I'll
I'll never forget that. And I was like, didn't know what to do. I was just like, because I wanted to. Noel Gallagher is somebody I just wouldn't want to approach, like in any capacity.
He
I
doesn't
just
seem
feel.
like he'd be very welcoming. We're actually,
I mean, he might be, but I was like, I don't think he's seen Grandma's Boy. So I'll probably sit this one out. I can't
No
imagine
idea.
being like, I love Terry on Reno 911s. I love Terry.
I'm a big fan of Terry, aren't
Skate on Liam's genitals. That'd be hilarious.
I've seen Typical Rick a bunch of times. I'm
Just going into deep cuts. Your premium blend back in the day was so good.
A googly boogly. All right, the album opens up with Airbag, which I love everything about it. It's like when you try to, sometimes I want to listen to like a singular song on the record, and it's like, I feel like it's a perfect way to start the record with that guitar, that riff.
Let me cut you off really
Yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
One of the things that I thought was interesting about Radiohead is they were kind of foreshadowing and ahead of the time for like AI and robots and space and like that whole futuristic world. Like I remember hearing it, and there was like moments when you're listening to it where you're like, is Thom Yorke from Earth? Like there's moments where I was just like, this guy just seems like he was just, it feels like if you met him and talked to him in public, like oil might start coming out of his mouth or something, and he'd be
It's
like
little like a little
like that type of thing. I don't know. I always felt he was from another universe. A little bit.
He used to go to, well, actually, Pete, our friend Pete's girlfriend, Whitney owned that juice bar. She was the member. She had that juice bar that was on Franklin Boulevard. I used to go there all the time, and Thom Yorke used to come in there a lot. Did she ever tell you that?
No.
He used to come in there all the time, and it would always be, because I would walk down there with Lekka, and she'd be like, you just missed Thom Yorke. And I think he got like because she always made all that like healthy food, so which is all like checks out, like
yeah, totally checks
Thom
out.
Yorke would be like, I had my spirulina today.
Right.
Are those overnight oats? Okay, yummy.
Well, the crazy thing, people don't realize Thom Yorke is 7 feet tall. I'm just kidding. I don't know how tall he is, but yeah,
We can find out.
Yeah.
Jorge, find out how tall Thom Yorke is.
Get on it.
So this song opens up about a car crash. Thom Yorke was in with his girlfriend in 1987. She suffered whiplash, but he was fine. Says Yorke, has an airbag saved my life? Nah, but I will tell you something. Every time you have a near accident, instead of just sighing and carrying on, you should pull over, get out of the car, and run down the street screaming, I'm back, I'm alive, my life has started again today. In fact, you should do that every time you get out of a car. We're just riding on those things. We're not really in control of them.
Well, Thom Yorke would definitely have a hard time in a car accident, considering he is 5'5".
He's a tiny.
Yeah, he's a little dude.
He's a littly. He's a smallie.
By the way, that's such an alien thing to say about cars too. Like what he said. Is that what he did? He say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not really in them. We're just a part of their journey. Oil.
I need electrolytes to live. So some people might look at seatbelts and airbags as safety equipment, and some people look at them as free passes to recklessness. What is the dumbest or most reckless physical thing you ever did?
Is that a question to me?
It's a question to you.
Did Tom text that in?
Yep.
He just asked me that?
Yeah.
Wait, what is it?
What is the dumbest or most reckless physical thing you ever did? Like, do you do things like skydiving or
not really? I mean, I've always at least had the wherewithal to not put myself in those kind of situations. I don't know. I can't think of anything offhand where it was like, whoa. I mean, I was also blackout drunk for 10 years. So, like, I could have climbed Mount Everest at that point and just had no recollection of it. When Fireball came out, I scaled the Eiffel Tower. I don't know.
I mean, truth be told, this is like when we were trying to do the Coldplay. Can I say it? Like I asked Pete. I was like, how do I get Nick? He's like, just go to Barney's at like 1 p.m. He's off right now, so he's day drinking.
Yeah,
I almost brought all my equipment there to do it.
I would have been there. Yeah, the thing that I quit drinking and which is great. I love it, but I am bummed. I don't have regrets because it's a waste of time. But I do think about concerts where I'm like, oh fuck. Even when I was drinking, I stopped drinking at concerts because like it's the worst when you don't remember it, or I would leave early, or I would and there was a handful of shows where I'm like, fucking hell. Like,
what's a thing that you were so excited about? You were like, I'm so excited for this, and then you got too drunk and you completely blacked out. You don't remember 1 millisecond of it.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't have remembered it.
You don't even remember remembering it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing too dramatic. I mean, I remember. Yeah, I mean, there were just some shows. Like there was a U2 show I saw where I was in the pit, and I was on one, and I left. Like, and I love U2, but I bailed on it, and that was really annoying because I was with people, and they were like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm gonna go to the bathroom." I had a big thing of chewing tobacco in my mouth, and I just left. Went to the bar. So that was stupid, but yeah, I mean, I was alert enough to where I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna. If I'm gonna drink, I'll just have one or something. But like, I'm not gonna go fucked up, And then you see people, and then comedy shows, people get obliterated. I'm like, that's the one thing where like you need to, like, seriously listen. Like, I got getting fucked up at a concert, but like a comedy show, it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had to throw people out. I mean, I rarely do it, but sometimes. There have been like fist fights and stuff where like there was a brawl one time in Orlando
at your show,
and it was at a performing arts center. Yeah, I mean like
you bring out. I mean, I'm
not anymore. I mean, I'm almost 50, so it's like my fan base. But I mean, back in the day, it was like,
dude, I opened for you in Irvine once, and it was like the amount of people with like neck and face tattoos was crazy.
Yes, everyone's invited. Yeah, no, I mean, I love my shows and my fans, but I've had to go on social media and be like, hey, like, try to like chill out a little bit. Just because it's like, I can handle anything, but the people around those people, that's where it gets crazy, where I've stopped and been like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And they're like, I'm like, you guys, it's a comedy show. I'll tell you one of my favorite Radiohead stories. My friend saw them in New York.
Yeah.
And they had just done Saturday Night Live. So my friend got backstage
Which
at
year is this? This is when they did
God, I don't know.
Idiotech. Was this like because they remember
whatever it would be. It was like later on. It was probably Kid A-ish. Or,
Yeah, so
you know.
probably Idiotech. Yeah, like 2000 and
Sure. Yeah. It was in the 2000s.
yeah.
So my friend he gets backstage, and he sees Thom Yorke, and this was at their show. It wasn't at SNL. So he goes backstage. He sees Tom, and he's by the crafty table, food, and he goes, "Hey man, let me just say, I saw you on SNL. I saw that taping, and you guys were great." And he said, Tom looked at him, and he goes, "So we just played a show for 2.5 hours, and you saw our 2-song set on TV, and that was impressive?" And my buddy was like, "Why did I say that?" And Tom's like, "Thanks, man." Just walked away. I was like, that's the most Thom Yorke thing I would imagine him being like, "Yeah, we did a fucking throwaway 2 songs on TV, but we just shredded. For
They
fucking 2
murder.
hours."
Yeah, their live show is if it's like we always wonder like how are they going to pull this off? How are they going to take like especially the next song like Paranoid Android?
Yeah, totally.
Which-
How's it going to translate live?
How are they going to do it? And it's just as good if not better.
It's insane. I
Because
think
they-
that goes. That's a big testament to the Greenwood brothers too.
yeah. To
Johnny.
Johnny. To
Yeah.
Johnny. What's this Johnny? It's Johnny's like so there's no brother, but Johnny is
I thought it was. Didn't they? I'm thinking of Lee Greenwood.
well, I'm proud to be. You think Johnny Greenwood?
Johnny Greenwood.
Johnny Greenwood is that would be awesome if he was brothers with Lee Greenwood.
That'd be
Proud
so
to be
random.
An American guy, just some British aristocrat, like scientist of the guitar and canoodling and with like Moog synthesizers, and then you have like the most rednecky, like, "Oh, come on, man.
That'd be
I'm
great.
proud to be an American. Johnny, that really dug that Paranoid Android you're working on. How's it?
I'm proud to be an android, motherfucker. Eat me out. Whoa, Jesus, what's going on here?
So,
Or what if Anthony Michael Hall made a movie called Johnny B. Greenwood instead of Johnny B. Good?
oh, dude.
There's a lot of ideas out there.
Deep cut,
If anybody
dude.
wants to latch onto that.
Inspired by unsettling experience Tom had at a bar in Los Angeles, when this first single was released, nobody knew what to expect, and what they got was monumental. In a way, this is almost more important than anything else on the record. It's almost like what Pink Floyd started doing with long-form songs that had movements like echoes off of metal, but very much like what the Beatles perfected with a day in the life of just figuring out a way to stick any song fragments together to make something epic and unexpected. While the original recorded version of this was over 14 minutes long, this chopped down,
Jesus.
I know that's crazy, is it's still just 3 or 4 distinct parts over more than 6 minutes that showcase everything Radiohead. If they had just put this out and took a few months off, it would have been enough. At least they gave us Airbag as the first song to sort of get our ears ready for what to come. That's true.
Yeah.
They give you a shorter song that's more it's more accessible, and then they drop this. But it's like putting the medley of side 2 of Abbey Road right after Come Together as the second song on side 1. There's also a feel of Paul McCartney's Band on the Run in a similar fashion of cutting together several disparate short song fragments to make one epic piece. Billy Joel did it on Scenes from an Italian Restaurant as well. And this is the first of several homages to the Beatles' White Album. This was inspired by that album's Happiness is a Warm Gun, but also by the Pixies as well as Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. And let's just take a quick moment to give a tribute shout out to Roy Thomas Baker, who just passed away and was Queen's producer for all these classic 70 records, including A Night at the Opera, which has Bohemian Rhapsody on it. What was your, where do you remember first hearing Paranoid Android? Because I remember the video and being like...
I remember the video. I mean, it wasn't like, I'd have no moment where I was like, I was pouring a bowl of Cheerios. It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Little cloudy. Yeah, I don't fucking know, man. I bought the album and I fucking listened to it.
But
I mean, not every single song takes you back to like a
You
specific.
really?
Well, I mean, not every song. I mean, I can't like you know.
But you can't pinpoint. Really, this is like. I mean,
I remember getting the album and being. I mean, I just you know
put the album
yeah,
on and you listen to it.
Listen to the whole thing.
What was your first thoughts hearing this? Were you just you must have been completely blown away?
I was
mean,
totally blown away.
Yeah.
And I always tell people like I don't know why I said that. I always tell people no, when I talk about music, I remember distinctly albums that you just go, "Whoa, this is," you know, you kind of alluded to that earlier, where it's like, I remember hearing Appetite for Destruction and being like, "Pfft," you know,
Yeah.
I remember hearing Nirvana Nevermind being like, "Pfft," like, where you're like, this is, you know, like, this is something special.
Yeah.
This isn't like, this is going to change everything. You know what I mean? I remember that distinctly. OK Computer, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, this is something, this is a game
special.
changer.
This is really a game
And
changer.
the thing about that album, too, is they committed through, like, that's such a bold move to not have just a couple songs that were kind of ethereal and kind of spooky, you know what I mean? Like, and robotic. They just, the whole album, you know, has that kind of tone. That's a pretty big commitment, you know what I mean? Like I said, when I heard exit music for a film, I was like, that was so awesome. Because I was like, what is that? Like, they're just dropping this.
Especially
and
the way that it changes, which we'll get to. But
So
it's like
haunting.
it starts as this like just this guitar, like almost like redemption song. And then it drops into that and all the noises.
Yeah,
like
it's
I mean, that's
so wild.
so the parallels to this band, like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Rush, have songs inspired by J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series, as this is named for the character Marvin the Paranoid Android from Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe series. But whereas those bands seemed less than nerdy for referring to literature popular with teens and young adults, Radiohead seemed more vulnerable.
Wait, hold on. Side note. One of my buddies, Sam, who's like diehard New Yorker, dude, and he was a music fan, and I go, "Hey, Sam, did you hear OK Computer yet?" Literally, he goes, "Yeah, it's elf music. It's music for elves. I don't listen to that fucking band, man." I'm like, "Really? It's really good." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. It's elf music." And now, like, I can't get that out of my head that it's elf music. It's
Really?
such a funny- I mean, and then when you think about it, it does seem, now you know that Tom's really short.
Yeah.
It just kind of, and then you reference Lord of the Rings. It's like all coming together where they're like in the Shire.
It's very.
You know.
I can see that it's elf music, but I don't think.
I mean,
I don't think
it's
at this
just
point-
a funny way to sum it up.
Sure,
It's
sure.
just like, it's
So-
obviously not elf music.
At all.
If there are elves out there, I'm sorry.
So we've talked to many guests about the underground comedy college boom that came up in the late 80s and 90s. It seemed like the subject matter became insular and specific enough to have a niche appeal. It was still funny, but didn't aspire to appeal to the mainstream. Like, how influential was the like alt scene back then on your comedy?
The alt comedy scene.
Well, it's mentioned because I think you were basically a part of it in a sense, because especially if you're friends with Zach and
Well, we were at so for those listening, there was an alternative comedy scene that blew up in the late 80s, early 90s. And one of the big pioneers of it was Janine Garofalo. So that scene, and then like David Cross and Bob Odenkirk and all, you know, those kind of people, they started this thing that was just, it wasn't anti-comedy. It was just not the comedy club kind of like rapid fire, like, you know, it was just kind of like talking, you know. And I guess you could equate it, not that I was there, but like Mort Saul back in the day, he kind of broke the mold of going on stage in like a sweater and a newspaper and kind of talking. So I think it was kind of that vibe. And that was a huge influence on me. I ended up opening for Janine and David Cross. And I got really thick into the alt scene. I still did comedy clubs, but it helped me when I moved from Minnesota to New York. It was so intense because I was basically a teenager starting comedy, and it was really like, whoa. And I was doing the clubs. And then I got into that alternative scene through friends. And then it really kind of expanded my comedy of just, you don't have to get up there and have them like you right away. You know what I mean? Like, doing the comedy clubs is so intimidating. And if you lose a New York crowd, within a minute, it's really
gone.
hard to get them back,
Yeah.
especially if they don't know who you are or whatever. So, you know, places like Luna Lounge, I would go up and we would do sketches. It was just weird and fun. And then, you know, Zach and I shared an apartment on Ludlow, and we moved to LA and then started doing the alternative scene there. But it was very, very, really great. I hold that up as a big influence.
So
for
you
me.
said you were 6 months into stand up when you got Aspen.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that it shifted from being an open micer to suddenly like, was there a set that they saw you that you just
I just worked really hard when I first started.
yeah, but
I
6
was
months like
Well, this is what I did. I remember I had sobered up, so I had to go to rehab in high school. For,
did you really?
Yeah.
You're pro, dude.
Yeah. So I cleaned up, did acting, and I started doing improv in high school. And then after I graduated high school, I had no money, I had no grades, so I was like, I'm just gonna try comedy. So I went to the open mic, and I went in with the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to write material that I can do in any state. I'm gonna write clean material. I'm gonna get out of Minnesota, and I want to be in TV. I want to make movies. I want to do stand up. I want to do everything. So I was just very meticulously like, that's what I did. And then I kept writing. So the club that I was doing, my friend Dan Krolchek was the manager, and he was like, just keep writing. I would have like a killer 5 minutes, and he'd be like, more. So I just kept working, and they kept working me, and maybe a house MC immediately. And then Aspen came through town and had a contest, and I beat out like 70 people.
That's crazy.
And you know, I don't know. It was insane. But and then yeah, everything was just moved so fast. And I went to the festival, and I did my first TV set within my first year of doing stand up. And then I signed with 3 Arts, and you know, it was just crazy. They were a big management company.
Yeah.
And they had Chris Rock, and then it was wild. But the alternative scene helped me out a lot. And that's when I met a lot of people through Janine and David. So it was cool. Alternative music, I met, like Stephen Malcolmus.
Yeah.
One of the biggest panic attacks I had, this isn't even that long ago. It's probably 10 years ago. And I became a huge Pixies fan. Like, I remember when I first heard the album Doolittle, and I was like, oh, now I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
So I went on a deep dive with Pixies, and then I went and saw them at the Palladium, and I was in like this in the balcony, and I was with some alternative comics and stuff, and this woman comes up, and she goes, "Hey, Nick," she's like, "Frank Black, is friends with a lot of your friends. I think he was a Reno 911 fan." She goes, "He'd like to meet you," and I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, he was, if you want to stay and come backstage." And I panicked and I left, because I just was like, I was a little drunk, but not that drunk. But I couldn't wrap my head around it, so I left, and I regret that. So
Aw.
if Frank Black ever, I love him so much.
He's
I
so
love
great.
the Pixies.
We've done Surfer Rosa and Doolittle on the podcast. I did it with Patton Oswalt, and we had the guitarist surprise Patton, because Morty, my writer, is friends with I can't think of his fucking name. Whoever the guitarist is, Santiago, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
He surprised us on the Zoom, and Pixies, another band like that.
Well, they were also stigmatized by, in a sense, like with Radiohead and Creep, the Pixies, and the song from Fight Club, "Where's My Mind?"
Yeah,
I remember seeing them at the Palladium, and again, these in LA, and these fucking idiots,
bros. Yeah,
where they were just kind of waiting.
Yeah.
So the Pixies are killing it, and you could tell they're angry. So because the crowd is so flat, and LA crowds are notorious for that.
Sure.
But I was like, oh my god, this is such a great show, and you could tell they were annoyed. And then they start into "Where's My Mind," and then the crowd all of a sudden there, and I was like, it made me so angry.
Posers. I wanted to ask you when you mentioned, because if you're 6 months in, so the older comics, like they all took you under their wing, like
people were really cool to me. It was, but then people weren't. So the people that were established that I met, like the big headliners that would come through, and I would open for them, or MC or whatever, and they'd be like, "Hey, you're great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you need to do X,
saw
Y,
something,
Z.
yeah.
You should move to New York. You're still really young. Cut your teeth and all that." And the best advice, they were like, "Don't go to LA. They're like, don't go there right away. Go there when you're like a headliner. You have at least an hour of
At least
solid
wait 8
material.
months.
Yeah, exactly. But they were like, go to New York,
Yeah.
and that really helped. Judy Gold, Kevin Nealon. Kevin Nealon told me to go to college, which is really funny because he's one of my best friends. And I'm like, remember when you told me to go to college? He's like, I didn't say that. I'm like, hey, I did. But yeah. So like, but then the other comics that were kind of, not established, not like names,
That you
and
were
they were
taking
kind
spots
of,
away
yeah.
from, yeah.
So it was like I fell victim to that, where it was like, and I did Mark Maron's podcast, and Mark's an old friend. I've spent a ton of time, million shows with the guy,
Sure.
and I do his podcast, and in classic Maron fashion, he goes, "Yeah, man, you know I hated you, right?"
Of course.
And I go, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, I fucking hated you." And I go, "I didn't know that." We like hung out for a million times. And he goes, "Yeah, I know, man, but I just, fuck, I hated you." And I'm like, first of all, yeah, of course he did. It's Maron. But
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? But I mean, yeah, it was weird.
Well,
but-
you were great right from the beginning. That's odd. I mean, that was the only person I saw that in my class. That would have been, well, Angelo obviously was
Yeah.
brilliant, and then Gerard. But Angelo didn't play the game, and would have gotten shit if he would have lived. But Gerard, like, it was like, I remember him doing an open mic and them at the Comedy Store, and them being like, "Ladies and gentlemen, the future of comedy." You're like, he's been doing it for like 6-7 months, and
Right.
they're already calling him the future.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, when I went to the Aspen Comedy Festival, I remember they threw me into like, okay, do you have a sitcom idea? Okay, blah, 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 all this
Yeah.
shit. And I literally told my agent, he goes, "So what do you want to do?" And I go, I want to go out on the road. Like, I want to build up my act. And he was so annoyed. He was like, "Okay, but I mean, you're going to have meetings, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, I'm fucking 19.
Yeah.
I don't know what, like, I'm gonna create a sitcom?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I have no life
And that was that
experience
era.
yet.
Yeah, and that was that era of stand-up where it was like the mid-90s where that's what you did.
Sure,
You killed
Seinfeld,
on stage,
yeah.
you signed. Well, no, I mean, Seinfeld set the bar.
Sure.
Seinfeld, Roseanne, Tim Allen, Drew Carey. So then, like, all these other people, even back. But anyway, so, like, the new kids, they were like, okay, that's the model. That's what you do. So they were throwing people against the wall, and, people weren't ready. And, a lot of comedians aren't great actors. And a lot of them, those other comedians I mentioned had a very distinct, like, point of view. So you could go, Drew, Tim, Roseanne, I mean, even Cosby, I don't know what happened to him. But people where it was like, yo, yeah, you just plug them in. And then Seinfeld and Larry created, Seinfeld. But, long story short, I was a kid. I wanted to do the road. And
Yeah.
my manager was annoyed and then fired me.
Really?
Yeah. I won't say who it is, but he knows who he is. He's apologized since.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie doodle.
Yep, because after that, I invented the spoon. And I became a gagillionaire. It's a whole new.
Don't get me started on my spork money.
But, so I spent a lot of time on the road, and that, made me, ingest more music.
Yeah.
And it was great. And living in New York in the early 2000s, that was a great time
can
with
imagine.
Radiohead.
Yeah.
And then you had the Strokes and the White Stripes, and then you had that whole influx, which was awesome.
Did you
But-
go to a lot of those shows too?
Yeah, totally. I opened for
yeah.
the Strokes.
Did you really?
Yeah, they got me a gig on MTV. It was called oh god, there was a show.
$2 bill show?
I think that was it. Yeah. And I opened for them in New York, and I go on stage, and this is like Strokes are just exploding, and so was the band Creed. So I go on stage, it's all hipster kids, and I go, "Hey guys," and I'm doing my bits, and I go, "You guys excited for the show tonight?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I go, "Who do you like better, honestly, the Strokes or Creed?" And these hipster Brooklyn kids are like, "Strokes!" Like angry, not getting that I'm joking. And they're like,
Yeah.
Strokes. And I go, "Nope, you're wrong. Creed." The right answer was Creed. And then they're mad. "No!" And then I see like Julian and Nikolai in the band, like, and they're dying.
Sure.
So they're outside of the stage, and they know I'm joking. But these teenagers were like, "It's the Strokes, man! What is this?" But yeah, so that was awesome, and I went and saw.
That's so great.
And I remember seeing the White Stripes in LA at oh god,
Troubadour, Whiskey,
no,
El Rey.
the El Rey.
Yeah.
So I remember, and this is right right before White Blood Cells came out. I don't know how well you know the White Stripes.
Pretty well.
But that was an album where I had heard the album Distill. And the second I heard that, I was like, who are these? That blew me away.
Yeah.
And I had an extra ticket to the White Stripes. And I was out in front. None of my friends would go with me. And I just gave it away. Like, the LA was like 3/4 full. And it was one of the best shows to this day I've ever seen. Where
he's a rock star.
Dude, he's on another level.
Yeah, he really is. I just saw them I saw him at the Irving Plaza, and it's just for an hour and 20 minutes. It was just there's no lulls,
he's on another planet.
No ballads, just rock and roll. It's
yeah.
great.
Did you ever see when when Conan was leaving his show and the White Stripes did a full week as a musical guest?
I think I remember
Track that down.
Oh, I will.
It's insanity.
Oh, I bet.
He plays a whole. He puts a guitar on Conan's desk, and lays it down, and then plays like a solo.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a badass. All right, Subterranean.
Radiohead, yeah.
Radiohead, Subterranean Homesick Alien, with a title that pays homage to Bob Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues, but was originally known
Bob Dylan, Minnesota.
by its damn, I wish I would have worn a Bob Dylan shirt. Known by its one-word chorus, Uptight, this tale of alienation, both literally and figuratively, is beloved by Radiohead fans. This is an example of how using a very organic sounds like reverbs, despite the availability of more modern technology, still imbues the song with otherworldly spirit, and it matches the lyrics, especially the second verse. I wish that they'd swoop down in a country lane late at night while I'm driving, take me on board their beautiful ship, show me the world as I'd love to see it. I'd tell all my friends, but they'd never believe me. They'd think that I'd finally lost it completely. I'd show them the stars and the meaning of life. They'd shut me away. Echoing a sentiment of a lot of people have of feeling so disconnected from the world or this reality and the humans around them that there's a hope they could be taken away by a race that's more sympathetic. That's true. I remember, that summer that I heard this record being here in New York City. I was staying at visiting my dad's friend Malcolm, who lived in Staten Island, and I walked down to the water and I overlooked the city, and I remember just listening to this song, and that's the moment.
That's a great song.
It's really just, I mean, it's when you talk about speaking to you, it's like this song is the one. I mean, whereas like Paranoid Android is unsettling, and it's like this is the one that it's like it really kind of like after that big crescendo that is Paranoid Android, this kind of brings you back into another trip. Speaking of that, I was like, Society's pendulum continues to he's great.
Tom's great,
dude, man. I've had Carrie.
Carrie came
on for PJ Harvey.
Carrie was in a band called Cake Like.
Yep. We talked all about it. She did PJ Harvey too. And then I had Mary Lynn on for the other PJ Harvey record. Dude, we're chipping away at getting we almost gotten not everybody from the state. Like we've had David Cross on.
Oh, great.
And I talked to Odenkirk at Bill's Play because he's a huge Replacements fan.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, because David Cross did the Replacements, Let It Be. And then when I was in Minnesota this last time,
Replacements are phenomenal.
Phenomenal. But it's a band that I never would have gotten into if it wasn't for this podcast. Like for real. Like but I love, dude. Last time I was in Minnesota, I went to the house, the Let It Be house.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and looked.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard Tim was one of their albums, and I was like, I'm
trying to get Odenkirk for that. Yeah. All right. Exit music for a film.
We already talked about.
We did talk about this.
And I don't have much time.
How much more time do you have?
I mean, not a lot, especially with my diabetes. I've got to eat.
All right. Fuck.
Can we just do a quick? Let me just say, one of our favorite, you and me, one of the most powerful, brilliant songs is "Let Down," and that is such another level. I mean, that's not even like one of their. I mean, at the time, it wasn't one of their most talked about big hits. It was all Karma Police, Paranoid Android. You know what I mean? "Let Down." It is so incredible and moving. And I remember reading an interview with Dave Grohl, and he was saying, I'm paraphrasing it, but he was like, that song is like I can't remember, again, I'm paraphrasing, but he was, in some context, he listened to it and broke down. He said he completely, just lost it.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it was so emotionally visceral.
This is like the Let Down is probably the Radiohead fans, so many people that are Radiohead fans love Let Down and is probably their favorite song. I told you I had that moment with that girl where it's like we're holding hands and the sun's coming up and it's playing. It's a song that every time I hear it, it almost moves me to tears.
Yeah, and then the fans are let down when they don't play it live. We'll be right back with more from Fuck This Shit.
They've started playing it live again.
I know, but they didn't for a while though, because
Yeah.
I've seen them live, and you know they played on the OK Computer tour, but it's one of those ones where, yeah, you're like, come on, man, what's going on here?
I mean, Letdown to me is, whereas like you can see the impressiveness of so many of the other songs and the moods they create, but Letdown, especially that final where they're both overlapping the vocals and it's the build.
It feels like a movie.
It really does.
It feels like when you're listening to it, like you're in a movie, because it has almost like act breaks, where then it's just, you know, I don't know. It's such a phenomenal song.
It is. Karma Police. I guess we'll just skip through some of the other tracks because I want to get.
Yeah,
you
we
out of
can't
here.
do all these tracks.
No.
I was blabbing about my dumb comedy.
No, and I
sorry.
fucked up. I should have gotten. Morty's gonna be mad at me. I should have gotten into the song sooner, and I spend too much time trying to dick around and just like, no, I don't just want to go. I just want to like dig in this. Like I want to just make it happen naturally. Karma Police, the music video is insane with the, it's like the static shot where they keep turning the camera and every time they come back, there's something else going out on the road. I mean, a lot of people love Karma Police. I think that's kind of their favorite song, but
that was the first one that popped. What was the first video they dropped off OK Computer?
It was Paranoid Android.
It was?
Paranoid Android was the first. Let me see.
Karma Police had to be the second.
Yes. So I have singles wise. There's Paranoid Android, Karma Police.
Karma Police had to be their biggest single off the album, right?
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
No surprises though. Have you seen the music video for that?
Yeah, it's great.
Where his face is in the water. And
Yeah.
it's like there's a if anybody hasn't seen it, there is a behind the scenes of that tour that you went to go see.
Spike Jonze did one of their videos, didn't he? Directing the director.
Karma Police was, Paranoid Android was like animation.
Yeah.
Karma Police, I think, was that guy Jonas Ackerland. Let me see if they have the music video. Yeah, no, Jonathan Glazer. I don't think who did Karma Police was who did Karma Police. It's Jonathan Glazer again. Paranoid Android is animation, so I don't know who did that. I'm assuming Magnus Carlsen, Swedish animator.
Magnus.
I don't think he did. I don't think Spike Jonze did. But either way.
Yeah, no, I mean, their videos are great. Who directed Fake Plastic Trees? Because that was a video that I saw where I was like, that was fucking so bizarre. Really simplistic, but remember when Tom was in the shopping cart?
Yes.
And it was in this kind of futuristic...
Oh, it's so great.
You got to get Thom Yorke on here. I want to know what he thinks of planet Earth. I want to know where we go next.
Mars, I'm assuming.
Yeah. He's probably already there.
God, I guess we'll just wrap because I don't want to like keep you much longer. I have so much other stuff, but I know you got to get out of here.
I know, Josh.
I fucked up, dude. This is still the fact that I got to get you in for just a little bit. How, like, in realistic, like, how much more time do you think you could do?
I mean, we're over an hour right now. You promised me an hour. That's what I was told.
Okay. All right, let's just wrap it up then.
I know, I would, but I've got to eat.
No.
My diabetes sucks, asshole.
It's all good. I mean, all in all, it ends with Taurus as the buildup goes from Letdown, Karma Police, Electioneering, even the fittier, happier robot voice feels like it fits in the record and breaks up.
Oh yeah,
the first half to the second. Climbing up the walls with the it's just everything on this record to me is like there's nothing that I think that could be shed off of it.
Well, we had kind of talked like Electioneering was such a different, like, because it's just kind of like that's like the most kind of alt grungy rock song on the album. So that was an interesting kind of choice to throw in. It's kind of
Let me ask you this: do you like the direction that Radiohead has gone post this record?
I loved Kid A. I wasn't sure about it, and it really like I was really consumed by that.
Yeah.
I loved Amnesiac, and then I just kind of like I've got to get more into In Rainbows, but it was kind of like
You said you never listened to that.
I did. I mean, I did, but I didn't really. It didn't grab me. So I just downloaded it, and I'm just gonna spend the day with it.
Yeah.
But nothing ever kind of pulled me in like the Benz, OK Computer, and Kid A.
Yeah.
Those three in a row were so like it's like where do you go from there?
Yeah.
So I've got to just try to get back into it.
If you had to rank the Radiohead records, like what's your like in the order? Like would you put OK Computer as your top album, you said?
I would put OK Computer as the top album.
Yeah.
I think just like we had talked about, just as a whole, it's bonkers. And they're all great, and it's hard to pick it because they're all three fucking different. I mean, they're similar, but they're different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and they're very subjective. For me personally, I would go OK Computer, the Benz, and then Kid A. And that also has to do with time and nostalgia of, listening to them.
Yeah.
But I'll get into it. I mean, I'll come back and then we'll talk more about.
So this is the third time we've talked about Radiohead on the 500. At 336 In Rainbows and 320 Amnesiac, both I did with our buddy Alex Sulkin.
Love Alex.
We'll
Shout out to Alex.
He's the man.
Very good writer.
We'll see them again 2 more times at 111 with the Benz and number 67 with Kid A. On the 2020 re-rank, Kid A comes in at number 20. OK Computer moves up to number 42. The Benz comes in at 276. In Rainbows at 387. And Amnesiac didn't make the cut. So they think on this one, Kid A is their best record, then the Benz, then this. I never would have thought Radiohead was going to go that far as they did with King of Limbs. Kid A I saw, but that was completely mind-blowing to go from How to Disappear completely. Just there's so many tracks on that. But
and to have commercial success with it.
Yeah. But
that's even fucking crazy.
But there's still like you can still touch little pieces of this record in Kid A, whereas like King of Limbs is just it's so out there.
Yeah,
and
I don't know that album at all.
It's really there's the first half of the record is completely just almost like avant-garde experimental, and then it starts feeling like a Radiohead record as it goes. And then
is Yoko Ono on it?
She might as well be. That's the funniest with her and Chuck Berry and John Lennon.
Everything is funny with it. It's like, what is going on? And I like the arguments that people have online. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. Radiohead inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
When were they inducted?
A few years ago, 2019.
Wow, okay.
And only 2 people showed up. It was, I think, they
were both from Mars.
The drummer,
and then the Elf Kingdom,
the drummer, and the guitarist. But Johnny Greenwood and Thom Yorke did not show up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they say why? Did they release any kind of press release?
I don't think so. That's not their bag. That's not their thing.
Yeah, I know. I get that. Hey, we're not. It's like, I don't know. I get it. That's very Radiohead.
Very Radiohead.
But it's like. It's still pretty fucking cool.
I mean,
I don't know.
When Rage Against the Machine, which Tom Morello wanted to get in, you could tell he wanted to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was the only one that showed up.
Yeah, I mean, that checks out too.
Which is a bummer because you kind of like want to see them perform and like with Radiohead, it's like that would have been cool for them to get inducted and then just play a couple songs. It's like
do a set.
Just people love them, and that's the thing. There's we like because I was gonna ask you like if you had to choose between Radiohead and Coldplay, who are you taking?
I mean, in what context?
I don't know. Just like you have to choose. Like if you were like
one of them dies.
One of them died. Sophie's choice.
No, I mean, I don't know. Probably Radiohead.
Radiohead. Okay. So Radiohead is an obsession band where I love Coldplay. And I think most people that are fans of Radiohead, like if you're a fan of them, it's not, you're not just like, oh, I like their music. It's like their music is everything. And it's like even with like now there's talks of a new record. They started an LLC and people are like, oh, they're milling around. It's like Radiohead's a travel band. Like if they're playing a show and that's the only show of the year that they're going to be playing.
Yeah, people are gonna
fly.
That's
in
why,
for
like,
that.
that's one of those things. And I said this. I went and saw a show at the Sphere, and I saw U2 in Vegas.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
And I remember, I love U2. It was interesting. They played their whole set. They played Octune Baby, essentially. But and I forgot how good that album is. Actually, I was like, at first I was kind of like, oh, they're gonna play all that, and then I was like, oh, actually, this is got some great songs.
Yeah.
But all I thought about was I was like, because it's so visual, and I'm like, God, Radiohead would fucking murder this.
it. I bet they do it.
I hope. I don't know. Well, you never know with them. You know what I mean?
But I could see them. I could see them use.
If they went, I can't imagine Thom Yorke wouldn't go, oh, we would fucking murder this.
Murder it.
Because it's so. I mean, obviously, people have heard of it. If you haven't, it's like a biodome. It's this massive IMAX times 1,000.
Yeah.
And you know the stage is tiny.
Yeah,
The stage looks like a Triscuit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not even about that. It's just about like the whole world that they set up.
I think they would probably be, because I love that the Grateful Dead or the Dead and Company did it there.
Right.
I could see them, with their visuals and the people on drugs. But like Radiohead, Tool would be another great band.
Tool would be great.
Would great to have there. But Radiohead,
Wham.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah.
George Michael.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But
They would've been.
I think that if Radiohead loves
Sixpence None the Richer.
keep going, Dishwalla, Buck Cherry.
God.
I'm going to see Buck Cherry at the Sphere.
That would be
just crazy
funny.
bitch images, like it would be rad. All right, let's get you out of here, dude.
All right,
I'm just
thanks-
listening.
thanks
Wait, no,
for having
wait, hold
me.
on. Wait, I got to do the final questions.
Oh my God. We're at 1:15. I was promised an hour.
All right, I fucked up.
Yeah. We've established that.
Hey, I got you, dude.
Yeah,
I
all
got
right.
you.
Yeah, come
All right.
on. I literally have
I know.
diabetes.
Don't die on me, please.
Well, yeah.
All right, favorite song on this record?
Favorite song on OK Computer?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about. I mean,
Just but
if I had to pick one song, it would be Let Down.
okay, Let Down. Is there anything that you skip over, or least favorite song on the record?
If I had, I mean, like exit music for a film, even though I love it. I mean, I love all
You've
the
listened
songs,
to it
it's
so
pretty
much
tricky.
that
yeah.
you're just like you don't need to hear it all the time.
And yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't skip over any of them.
Okay, can you fuck to this record?
I mean, you can fuck a robot. I mean, I went on a date with C-3PO. Shit got real, man.
Realistically, though, do you think would you ever put this on, or do you think you could fuck to
Well,
this?
that's a different thing. Would I ever put that on? No.
Exactly. That's the question, more or less.
No, that'd be fucking weird. I mean, I would put it on as I left the bedroom, and I would play exit music for a film.
Bye.
Bye.
Deuces.
C-3PO. Genital laser.
What would be your elevator pitch to get someone to listen to this record?
Do you have ears and a brain and like music?
Radiohead.
Yeah.
Promote away, dude. Anything you want to like shout out? I know you're. That's congrats on doing the special at First Avenue. That's gonna be fucking rad.
Yeah,
dude.
so Toilet Head will be out at some point this year. I got to figure out when to drop it. And then Real Nick Swardson at Instagram has all my tour dates. And then I was one of the main writers of Grandma's Boy, and I have a new script that has been verbally greenlit. So we're casting now. So knock on wood, we start shooting in the fall. What are you pointing at?
I want to act. Get me my SAG health insurance, please.
Okay, we'll see about that.
Please.
Yeah, I'll need you on set for 1 hour, Josh.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought once we sat down, you'd want to go.
Fuck off.
I thought you'd want to go.
No, I normally would have, but like I said,
get
my
it.
diabetes is being weird. I had to run to the drugstore and get my new insulin.
Nick,
and I have
just
to
the
take-
fact that I got you in here to do it, man, means it really does mean the world to me. I really appreciate it.
Of
dude.
course, Josh.
I love you to
very
death.
much. And I love how passionate you are about music. And then also, I am writing Eat, Pray, Love 5. We're skipping a lot.
2, 3,
We're
and 4.
jumping right into it. Radiohead's doing the soundtrack.
The Greenwood Brothers.
Yep. Eat, Pray, Love, the Mars edition.
I love you, buddy. Thank you,
All
man.
right. Eat, Pray, Love.
I'm sorry about that, dude.
That's okay, Josh.